Strong people are awesome, aren't they? We look up to them, we admire them, we revere them a little bit, honor them perhaps. And then I think we also fear them a little bit, and we feel a little uncomfortable around them because they are strong. So in Christianity, what is it that makes a person strong and one of those that we can look up to and revere? Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you is it's not absolute, flawless, sinless, perfection. That's not it. James 3:2 says that we all stumble in many things. So it is not absolute flawlessness that brings about strength. I guess in theory that would be strong, but that's not going to be the common definition of it. Absolute perfection. Nice goal, sure, but not happening. We're too flawed. We're too human. We bumble and stumble too much. So we're looking for something a lot deeper. As somebody said that boxers have a great plan until they get hit in the face, and then all of a sudden their plans fall apart. Somebody else points out that nobody in baseball bats 1,000. And yet there are some awesome baseball players who hang in with the game and persist. And we admire them and we look up at them and we are amazed at what they can do, even though most of the highest performers bat way less than 1,000. In fact, the best on record is right about 400, which means 6 out of 10, right? Not really a great record, but it is a great record. What makes the difference? Well, one of the best things is just flat out commitment. Absolute, total, all-in commitment. These are the things that separate the mediocre from those that we look up to and admire, because in any area, even those that we really look up to and have on a pedestal, they're not absolutely 100% perfectly flawless. What they had was the commitment to hone their skill, their trade, their talent, whichever area you're thinking of, until they became just a little bit better than everybody else. And it took hours and hours and years of work, sometimes decades of work. So I want you to think about Peter on the spiritual level. Peter wasn't perfect. Peter was a mess. Peter still had trouble even after the resurrection, though he made a lot of progress right around that time. But one of the things that makes Peter one of our biblical heroes, and he would easily rate on the top 10 list of just about anybody who knows anything about Bible characters, one of the things that made him so strong, gave him his strength, was his persistence. Yes, he stumbled. Yes, he about drowned when he was walking on the water. Yes, he denied Christ 3 times. Yes, he played the hypocrite, which is recorded over there in Galatians chapter 2. Sure, Peter, wasn't perfect, but he was persistent. He wouldn't give up, and he kept making progress a little bit at a time and a little bit of a time until he became that man that you and I admire today 2,000 years later. The problem some people have is they're going to make a run at it, which is great, and they have this image that they're going to do it with such excellence and perfection that everybody in the audience is going to be awed about how wonderful they execute at Christianity. And they stumble one time and they're like, man, I quit. I knew I couldn't do it. I tried though, but I couldn't make it work. And then I have the persistence. It takes that persistence, and especially in the spiritual pilgrimage, it takes that long-term persistence so that one of these days you become the gray head, the older person that the younger people look up to, and they think you were just born with that spiritual maturity. But you know better. And you got it because every time you got knocked down, you got back up. And you stayed with the plan. And you kept pushing forward and you kept pushing forward. You refused to be a fair weather Christian. And again, I know it sounds evil to say it, but there are a lot of folks out there that are glad to be at church as long as everything is perfect, as long as the air's set just right, just as long as the pews are soft enough and the preacher don't preach too long. I mean, that's just fair weather Christianity. As long as everything in our community and our culture is just like they want it, sure. But when things get tough, They run like that scared dog with their tail tucked between their legs, yelping, and they can't get back to shelter quick enough. It's kind of a shame, isn't it? The strong people are those that can stay on the front lines during the heat of the battle. Now, anybody can go out and look around the battlefield when there's no enemy shooting at you. Walk around, survey it, just do all kinds of things. There's nothing going on. Big deal. But when the bullets start flying, then you find out who the cowards are and who the people of strength are. And the people of strength stay on the front lines, engaging the enemy, even when the battle gets heated. That's your strong people. That's a big, major difference. So if you're going to get strong, you got to be one of these people that lift the weights. You got to get in there and do it. I'm sorry, there is no shortcut. There's no magical, miraculous endowment of strength. It comes through exercise. Again, I'll use a sports analogy, but an athlete wants to get stronger, then he or she has to go to the gym and lift the weights. Even if they want to cheat and use steroids, they still have to cheat and go to the gym and lift the weights. I mean, you can't get stronger without lifting the weights even when you cheat. Doesn't work that way. Spiritually, it's kind of the same. If you want to get stronger, then you got to come out of the dugout. You got to come out of hiding. You got to come out of the bunker. You got to get on the battlefield while the battle's raging and face the enemy. And kind of have that attitude that Esther had. She said, if I perish, I perish. But I'd much rather perish pressing the battle to the camp of the enemy, being as strong as I know how to be, other than cowering back in the barracks, hiding under the bed, hoping the enemy didn't find me. Just a real uncomfortable idea. So there you have a thought, signs of strength. And of course, our main sign here is that persistence and that focus that can stay in the battle even when it gets hard. They're your strong people. So give it some thought. Put your comments below. And as always, have a great day.